Greetings. I'm Hoss Turlington of Hoss Turlington's Bee and Goat Farm, located 4 miles from where the borders of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri meet. This is my youngest, John Duke Kelly Turlington, who's 2 years and a half. I'm a former law enforcement officer, certified Oklahoma private investigator, and retired from the military. There's a web-page version of this video with proofs of everything referred to at firstfamilies.net/recent.htm. That's recent, RECENT, and first is spelled out in firstfamilies.net. It's firstfamilies.net/recent.htm. Almost 5 years ago, I shot in self-defense convicted drug dealer, multiple felon Darrell Philpott as he committed aggravated assault against me with a glass bottle. Earlier this year, I made several videos about the shooting. The purpose of this video is to update you with some of Philpott's crimes since April 2014 when he committed aggravated assault against me. For those of you that are unfamiliar with my case, instead of arresting Philpott, who at the time had been convicted of 3 felonies, including a drug dealing conviction and multiple DWIs, and lots of other dangerous and violent crimes, Delaware County Sheriff Harlan Moore ordered my arrest. Philpott is well known as a long-term police informant in Delaware County and has snitch immunity from prosecution. In Delaware County, Oklahoma, snitch drug dealers get more protection from cops than disabled veterans get. The bottom line is that in the short time since Philpott assaulted me with a glass bottle in the spring of 2014, Philpott has been recorded multiple times threatening to kill a police officer. He's assaulted 2 law enforcement officers in 2 different incidents, received 2 more drunk driving convictions, in addition to the 4 we know about prior to his assaulting me, another meth drug felony conviction, a Schedule 6 drug conviction, and has been found twice by law enforcement officers passed out drunk in the middle of the street. And this is the man that Delaware County Prosecutor Nick Lellicus allowed to not only testify against me, a military retiree and disabled veteran, but to commit perjury in an Oklahoma court of law. Perjury is a felony in Oklahoma, and Nick is under investigation for not reporting it as of the publishing of this video right now. And Nick's buddy, the drug dealer, Philpott, had not 1, but 2 2009 Missouri bench warrants for his arrest when Nick allowed Philpott to commit perjury. And those same 2 Missouri bench warrants were active when Philpott assaulted me in 2014. Keep in mind, Sheriff Harlan Moore and Deputy Melvin Gayle Wells knew about these arrest warrants as well as the rest of Philpott's criminal past when they covered for him the night of my arrest. Following are descriptions of convicted drug dealer Philpott's 2 most recent arrests that we know of since April 2014 when he committed aggravated assault against me. In 2016, Benton County Deputy Justin Crane found Philpott in the middle of a road, passed out drunk, in his car with the engine running and his foot on the brake pedal. When Deputy Crane told Philpott to get out of the car, Philpott looked at him straight in the eye, told him bye, and reached for the gear shift to leave. Philpott then physically resisted arrest, and Deputy Crane devotes 16 lines of text in his police report to describe how Philpott fought with and resisted him. Because of Deputy Crane's arrest, Philpott was convicted of a felony meth charge, 2 DWI charges, and a Schedule 6 drug charge. At the time Deputy Crane arrested Philpott, Philpott had the same 2 2009 Missouri bench warrants for his arrest mentioned before. Thankfully, Benton County deputies had no reason to cover for Philpott. And after 7 years, Philpott finally answered for those 2 warrants and was convicted of his first of 2 drunk driving convictions in 2016. If Deputy Crane's arrest isn't enough for you, in July of this year, Benton County Deputy Sheriff Cedric Lampkin found Philpott once more drunk and passed out in the highway, except this time Philpott was lying on the ground with his legs in the driving lane of West Highway 72 in Benton County. In this arrest, when responding medics tried to help Philpott, he physically fought them to the point they were unable to transport him. When Deputy Lampkin tried to handcuff Philpott, Philpott became aggressive and resisted arrest, threatening Deputy Lampkin that he was going to kill him for handcuffing him. Philpott repeated this threat to kill a police officer at least 3 more times in separate incidents on the way to jail while banging his head against car windows and trying to kick them out. Halfway through the video, Philpott repeatedly orders Deputy Lampkin to pull over. When Deputy Lampkin, of course, refuses, Philpott asks him over and over again if he's afraid and lets out a demonic growl and then a demented laugh and then goes back to taunting Deputy Lampkin. Since Deputy Lampkin is an African American, Philpott gave him bonus treatment that white men don't get. In addition to repeatedly calling Deputy Lampkin a little bastard and a son of a bitch, things of that nature, Philpott also called Deputy Lampkin this. And sometimes just this, and sometimes just the bottom word with no adjective at all. And he did that several times. As for the public intoxication and obstructing a governmental operations charges from Deputy Lampkin's arrest, you guessed it, Philpott failed to appear in court to answer for them. Benton County issued bench warrant 510-52018 on the 8th of October, just 2 months ago. That's right, prosecutor Nick Lalikas, the star witness, is at large, on the loose, and wanted by the police for failing to appear to answer for crimes he committed this summer. Perhaps Philpott is hanging out with Nick in Philpott's safe space here in Delaware County, Oklahoma. No doubt the prosecutor Nick Lalikas will allow Philpott to walk into an Oklahoma court with an active bench warrant, perjure himself, and leave a free man again, just like Nick let Philpott do in my preliminary hearing. Don't forget, Philpott has Oklahoma snitch immunity in Delaware County. He can do whatever he wants on our side of the state line. What does Philpott's character and my character have to do with whether or not I shot Philpott in self-defense? It's a simple matter of credibility. Whose versions of events do you believe? The career criminal with multiple felony convictions and active warrants for his arrest? Or the disabled veteran, family man, recently retired from the military? I'm asking you to judge my life against Philpott's in order to make a credibility determination. I am a disabled veteran, along with both my brothers, father and grandfather, and great-great-grandfather. I'm listed in the very first row of memorial markers at the Delaware County Walk of Honor in front of the courthouse. The Veterans Associations put up my and my family markers after I shot Philpott, and they knew at the time what had happened. Clearly, I have the support of local veterans who know the details of my arrest. Like all veterans, my family has sacrificed and suffered, with my grandfather giving his life in the Philippines in World War II, my brother Reb suffering traumatic brain injury in Iraq, my brother Lance spending 41 months deployed to the Middle East and Bosnia, with a year in Mosul, a year in Baghdad, and a year in undisclosed locations in the Middle East. I tore up my back and knees as a young paratrooper in the 82nd God Bless America Airborne Division and received injuries from a death jump into Puerto Rico in the 80s that some mornings keep me bedridden. In the past 4.5 years, while Philpott was committing crimes and assaulting police officers, I've been a law-abiding citizen. I'm active in several civic organizations in Delaware County, including the Grove Masonic Lodge, where I have been chosen as an officer every year since Philpott assaulted me. Most recently, just this month, I became a 32nd degree Mason and a life member of the Scottish Rite and was initiated into the Shriners the year after Philpott assaulted me. Clearly, I have the support of Freemasons who know the details of my arrest. I'm a life member at the Grove chapter of Disabled American Veterans, and I've been a member of the American Legion and Delaware County Historical Association, both in J, for almost 4 years. I'm active in the Cub Scouts with my 2 oldest boys. My firstborn Hardy is 9, his brother Hoss Britton is 7, and I've fathered 2 more children with their mother Julie, who teaches high school biology in Miami. My daughter Audrey Maxine is 4 years old, and my son John Duke Kelly Turlington is 2.5. Finally, I retired from the military last year and established Hoss Turlington's Bee and Goat Farm in Delaware County, Oklahoma. Please compare my life and me to the drug dealer and career criminal, violent felon, Philpot, who attacks and threatens to kill police officers. As a former law enforcement officer myself, I understand that when the police arrive at the scene of an altercation, inevitably they're going to hear two different versions of what happened. You have to use common sense and assess credibility to determine who is more likely to be the aggressor, me or this guy who is constantly fighting cops and threatening to kill them. A reasonable person does not have to think about this for very long. If you can't figure it out, just ask Benton County deputies Crane or Lampkin. They are the most recent law enforcement officers Philpot assaulted when they placed him under arrest. Or ask any cop in Ottawa County or Delaware County here in Oklahoma, other than Sheriff Harlan Moore or Deputy Melvin Gayle Wells, who's familiar with my arrest, what they think about it. My recorded interview with Detective Frank Miller is linked from firstfamilies.net. Listen to it and consider these 5 similarities in each of Philpot's violent outbursts with first me, then Deputy Crane, then Benton County medical technicians, and then with Deputy Lampkin. First, Philpot was drunk or high or both. He was caught committing a crime. Someone tried to stop him, or in the case of the medics, tried to help him. He tries to flee the scene of his crimes, and he does have a prior conviction for fleeing an officer during an arrest. When those things don't work, Philpot gets violent, and then he taunts and provokes the arresting agent in the case of the law enforcement officers. In my case, the provocation and the taunting precede the assault. Now ask yourself if the altercation between me and Philpot is just part of his overall trend. Regrettably, Delaware County Prosecutor Nick Lelikas is still protecting his violent felon snitch despite all this. That's right, Darrell Eugene Philpott, the career criminal thug with drug felonies and other dangerous and violent crimes spanning 37 years, who still gets so drunk in public he passes out in the middle of a highway. He was 57 years old the last time he did that, this summer. Remains Prosecutor Nick Lelikas' star witness against me, the former law enforcement officer, disabled veteran who's recently retired from the military. In closing, if this is your first time seeing one of my videos and you want to see future ones, subscribe on YouTube or follow on Facebook. My next video will be on Philpot's life of crime prior to meeting me. You'll get to hear testimony about Philpot's drunken violence from his ex-wife, about how she and her adult daughter had to get protective orders from Philpot's drunken rages, in which he kicks animals, their pets, hits women, and then tells them he's going to burn down their homes and stuff like that. Please pray for my elderly parents, my wife, and my children and me. All families suffer when a loved one is prosecuted, whether or not the loved one is guilty. But in my situation, my family and I have had to watch not only a dirty cop withhold exculpatory evidence and tamper with witness testimony, but we've also had to watch while Prosecutor Nick Lelikas allows it, as well as allowing his convicted drug dealer witness to commit perjury multiple times and otherwise do everything they can do to protect their drug dealer snitch. Thank you for sharing my videos and letting them on your wall. If you think the district attorney should believe me, the disabled veteran, over Darrell Philpott, the convicted drug dealer with 4 felonies, multiple DWIs, one of the felonies and 2 of the DWIs as recent as last year, please call Kenny Wright at 918-253-4217 in J or 918-542-5547 in Miami and let him know. Or at least, if Kenny doesn't drop charges, please remember this next election date when Kenny will actually have someone running against him. Until later, good night.